Lisa, could you pass the salad?
And it's James with the steal.
My sophomore year of high school, I did a report where I got in front of the class and talked about the 3 animated shows with black protagonists that people mainly thought about when the subject was brought up back then. The Boondocks, Fat Albert, and the Proud Family. Give or take a Static Shock depending on who you ask. Can I get a whoop whoop? Oh yeah, thanks. I guess we tend to act like these shows are the only ones with black main characters, which couldn't be further from the truth. It just seems to be that a large percentage of black animated media finds its way under the radar faster than Chris Brown died and stomped a yard. Join me on Twitter to hear me tell that joke 15 more times. Sooner or later, I started talking with a few of my friends about other obscure, predominantly black animated series that are out there that could be looked into further. And you know, not even like on the Class of 3000 tip of things, I'm talking about stuff even more below the radar than that. A lot of what we ended up finding though were either shows where majority of the episodes were lost and incredibly hard to find, or ones with not much logged history. Honestly, it's pretty sad, and it just shows another instance of racial inequality in our American media.
Man, what the fuck is you talking about?
What the fuck was that? I'm sorry, man. I wasn't thinking about it when I did it.
So, myself, D-Dub, Man of ReviewYaLife, and Man of 1,000 Thoughts, took it upon ourselves to talk about as many of these obscure black cartoons as we possibly could. Well, I mean, you know, 10 of them. We're doing 10, we're talking about 10 of them.
Yo, Toon, get on with it, man. You're holding up the video.
Hey, man, since you do that whole thoughts gimmick, do I have to draw your mouth open, or do I just like leave it closed like a Garfield cartoon?
Just have my mouth closed. My voice would be too strong for the video to handle.
Too strong? Your voice? Who you thinks you is? R. Kelly?
Whoa!
See? All you gotta do is just be you.
You're right, Dee. Matter of fact, I wrote a song about it. Hit it, DJ.
Let me tell you, B.
I swear to God, I actually remember when this one happened. Somewhere around the summer of 2006, Nicktoons Network announced that they were dropping an animated special produced by the Wayans brothers titled Thuggable Sneaker Madness. Being honest, this special has always been one of those things that I randomly bring up in conversation as like an icebreaker because no one else has ever heard of it. Hey, beautiful. Did you know that in 2006, the Wayans family produced 2 animated specials for Nicktoons Network? I slept with 6 of your cousins. The specials focus on a group of multicultural children, sort of as a way to make sure that every group was represented. Skater boy, fat kid, dirty nigga. There's an environmentalist girl, which I remember thinking was really funny as a kid, but I promise the satire of a character does nothing but get funnier with age.
You know, all this pollution is putting a hole in the ozone layer. I can't stand people who pollute the earth.
This is the generation that Bill Nye raised. Mainly though, they focus on a young boy named D-Rock, who I could definitely relate to as a child for reasons.
Look at the size of that wrecking ball.
And his younger sister Dee Dee, growing up in Boo York, a fictional version of New York City. There's this real urban vibe to it. You can tell even by the designs that this was heavily influenced by rap culture in the early and mid 2000s. Even the way the characters speak, the voice talent that they ended up getting does a really great job in making all of the slang sound believable. These really sound like kids from the time period. As a young black kid around that time that was really into both hip hop and animation, this was really a treat. You rarely ever saw these two cultures mesh together unless it was like for like a music video or something. It legitimately felt like somebody was spying on us. This is exactly the type of jokes we tell in the playground.
Hey, Jay-Z, when you wanna get together and write those rhymes, huh, kid? Huh, son?
Yo, man, Chica can't write with anybody wearing sneakers like that. Because of you, D-Rock, I'm retiring from rap. I got 99 problems and your shoes is one. Shaboy!
I really wish I could find some way to play the special features from the DVD. Not only does it show the really talented all-star voice cast behind some of these characters, but it really shows Sean, Marlon, and Kanan's involvement in making the show. Even though it was just 2 specials, you could tell it was something that all 3 of them really believed in and wanted to see succeed. I remember as a kid thinking it was really dope to hear Marlon say that they just combined a whole bunch of cartoons that they grew up with, like Charlie Brown and Fat Albert. Admittedly, some of the things that were kind of cute in something like Charlie Brown are just bizarre when you add that Wayne Brothers swag to it. Like, remember how Snoopy used to hit on every girl in the neighborhood?
You're so cute, Money. You must really like me.
Yo, don't play with my emotions.
Come to the crib.
Okay, first of all, dick talk. Dick segment. Now,
the animation on these specials is really nice too. The art style kind of gives me Recess vibes almost. Oh shit, I just realized that all the main characters are low-key designed in different art styles. Yeah, give me Vince. Vince, they all look like Vince. Man, alright, whatever.
For sure.
Admittedly, Sneaker Madness is a lot more polished and put together than the second one that they did, which was a special titled Miracle on D-Rock Street. Which hold on, the name of the street is D-Rock Street? Named after the main character. I thought this kid was supposed to be some kind of fucking loser. Let me find out this nigga is the fucking mayor. Overall though, these Thuggable specials are still a really great watch, and that's coming from someone who always felt like the productions by the Wayans family was extremely hit or miss. Some great animation, designs, music, and lessons, all from kids that looked like me and my friends did growing up. Admittedly, I definitely picked Sneaker Madness over the Christmas special, but that's just more of a personal preference. I used to watch Sneaker Madness on repeat as a kid and rotated daily between my scratched up DVD of Bebe's Kids. Please make more black cartoons, we need them.
What's up everybody, it's your boy Sean Wayans, aka Big Slim, from the Group, no doubt, you love Busta.
Sometime last year, Sean Wayans re-uploaded both specials to YouTube and has really been pushing for some kind of revival. I don't know, while I love these specials with this animation style and humor, it's kind of one of those properties that thrives as a product of its time period. The early 2000s was the time period for freestyling, baggy clothes, low-angle rap videos. I mean, this is a cast of characters that are diverse enough to work in any time period, sure, but I don't know. I just feel like it came out at the right time. But, I mean, what do I know? Only time will tell, right?
You're so crazy.
You're talking to a dog, and I'm the one that's crazy? Holla back.
They said they never gave you niggas money!
Now here's a show I know nobody remembers. Another project from the Wayans brothers. Waynehead focused on a black kid named Damie from the hood who had club foot. Odd design choice, but okay. And for some reason, he looked a little too close to an elf. Seriously, just look at his ears. He looks like he belongs to the ghetto version of Keebler elves. Niggler elves. But anyway, the big idea of the show was basically to show off Damian Wayne's childhood, if the main character's name didn't give that away. I remember as a kid knowing of the show and mostly being fascinated by how trash Damian's shoe game was, only to grow up and find out he had a club foot. I'm going to hell. But I can't fake on his step game. The boy's got some moves. Just as well, that theme song just plain slaps. I mean it, black people just love going all out when it comes to music for animated shows, and we're all the more better for it. The character designs of the show were pretty funky. A lot of them were a little too reminiscent of blackface. I mean, just think about it. They had big ass lips, big ass noses, wonky ears. I almost feel like Damian Wayans grew up on those censored 11 Looney Tunes shorts. Though the character designs are a little questionable, the characters themselves have a nice quirk to them. Everybody in this neighborhood brings some sort of flavor to the show that many of us grew up in the hood could relate to. We all had some wacky neighbors like some of these characters.
Tripod looks like a member of the oppressed class to me, boy. Do you know what kind of weapons I need to defend this dog against a psycho-terrorist or a disgruntled postal worker? Huh? How am I supposed to get my hands on tanks and heat-seeking missiles with this kind of short notice, huh?
And, some that were clearly gonna be on the news at some point. But I can't help feel like the Wayans have a problem with blind people.
I can see it all clearly now.
Seriously, that's 2 specials from them that has a blind guy messing things up. I guess they really like Mr. Magoo for some probably offensive reason. Granted, some of the stuff this guy does is kind of funny.
Saying is, you got nothing to prove, little brother. Ow!
So I guess he adds to the quirkiness of the show. Plus, it's not like blind people could see it to be able to get offended anyway. What? The show actually captured a sense of growing up in an urban neighborhood with a metaphorically and physically colorful cast of characters. Its animation for its time had a uniqueness to where it has nice smoothness to it. Like, for instance, characters move with a type of fluidity that kind of feels like you're watching something from TMS Animation. That's frankly because it was animated by TMS. They worked on a lot of shows like Animaniacs and Batman the Animated Series, and they took their time on this one and it turned out a good product. It's funny, black people had pretty well animated shows before Boondocks came along. Though, since it's animated by a Japanese studio, would that technically count it as anime?
Nah, bro.
Either way, this is still a fun series that should get a release to streaming or something. It sucks that this is so lost to the point that you can't find much footage of it anywhere. It's fun, and black people should be able to remember more shows that revolve around us and how we grew up. You just really gotta appreciate this show and what it tried to do.
Well, looks like I gotta pick up the weight around here. Why are these two boyos over here talking about shows created by that one family that had like 17 kids in it? I prefer to focus on someone who actually matters. Young Draco.
Who the fuck is that?
Bow, 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 bow. Now, believe it or not, before Soulja was out here making efforts to stay relevant and selling consoles he don't own, he was a young nigga with a dream that came true, blowing up the internet at the age of 17 for 2007's hit Crank That. After that slap hit computer monitors back then, Soulja Boy didn't know where to stop with his success. So instead of being a young and dumb one-hit wonder, he branched out to various markets to keep his name in people's mouth while still making music on the side. Y'all remember Kiss Me Through the Phone? Featuring Sammy, the singer who went nowhere. Do ya? 17-year-old Money Moves DeAndre Wade should be everyone's goal. Nigga was selling shoes, Mii's emoticons, Arab's existence, and on top of all of that, I'm more than certain he wanted his own video game in his likeness as well, like some 50 Cent Bulletproof type deal, but he wasn't quite there yet in relevance. So he did the next best thing and attempted an animated counterpart, with his first iteration being the music video titled Soulja Boy Tell 'Em. I was actually quite surprised at Soulja Boy's eye for quality in animation. I expected him to cheap out and go with some pivot-based animators from YouTube. No shade, no shade. Anywho, Draco decided to hit up some staff from Robot Chicken nonetheless to help him create his vision on how a cartoon Soulja Boy will work out. And the idea that they went with is this puppetry cardboard rig, which is kind of shades of Stephen Holman's works, the creator of Life with Loopy. And it's honestly some pretty stylized stuff. Good on ya. And a couple of months after his music video, Soulja Boy decided to upload his creation to YouTube in 240p. I really don't understand how that happened, to be honest with you, considering that the music video before this was at least in 480 and the video uploaded before this cartoon was in 720. You know, now that I think about it, have y'all been to Soulja Boy's YouTube channel at all? This nigga's been recording and uploading every moment of his life. What a documentary, God. Where was I? Oh yeah, the cartoon. It was good for the time. It did what it needed to do with the 5 minutes it had, that's for sure. Hell, they even got Cartoon this way on it, so that says enough. My only concern for it was like, was this supposed to really be a series? Around this time, he had a bad habit of uploading part ones of a lot of projects that never saw a sequel. So I wouldn't be surprised if he put all his funds into this project and waited for the reception afterwards to debate if he'd make another one. And you're not supposed to do that. What he was supposed to do was make a batch of episodes and have some upload consistency with it. What he did was make a pilot and bounced, which was probably the explanation for the ending that we got.
First rapper in
Oh, you guys, I don't like this one.
Hey man, that's not my fault. Nobody said that all of these had to be gems. Alright? So, you know, go on and do it. Come on.
Gee, thank you for that pre-recorded message that I wrote in the script. It's almost like we're in the same room together.
Bruh, you ruining the video.
Friday the Animated Series is based on the 1995 comedy film starring Ice Cube and Chris Tucker. Definitely more on the first film than the rest of them for sure. Damn! Whose premise was definitely loose enough to get a couple of different stories out of it. Yeah, I'm not even mad at the choice to translate this to animation. This isn't even the only Ice Cube movie to get turned into a television series. Join us in 2000 Never, where we talk about Are We There Yet? Because that ain't happening.
Are we there yet?
No one in this show is voiced by the people that played them in the film. You got Cree Summer playing both the black women because, duh. Phil Lamar doing his best possible Chris Tucker, but I swear all I hear is Hermes' son from Futurama. The guy imitating Ice Cube is extremely distracting, not because his performance is bad, but because he literally jumps in and out of doing a flawless impression and one that just sounds like he's trying too hard. And man, John DiMaggio ain't even try to imitate John Witherspoon. This nigga just did his own thing.
You don't have a job by the time I get home tonight. I'm kicking you out. You hear me?
I can't do no damn spoon voice.
I mean, it kind of does the same thing that Thuggable did and really engulf itself in its time period, but the difference is that Thuggable wore its periodic influence a little more subtly. You can see it in the clothes and hear it in the slang with a slight pop culture reference here or there, but this shit is literally joke after joke after joke, just reminding us when this took place, and a lot of it just doesn't age well. Oh, look, a Whitney Houston skinny crack joke. Oh yeah, nice. Oh, looks like all the characters are going into a rec center. Wonder what it's called.
Whoa, yo, my man, chill, yo, chill, my man, chill.
This cop just snagged the cardboard cutout of 50 Cent Massacre. That ain't even his best album. Honestly, man, this is one you're better off skipping. The animation is just so shitty. I commend it for trying his hand at his own like cartoony style, but there's no gravity to this movement whatsoever. This moves like Total Drama, but like it's black. So it's like Total Drama Guava Island. This is America. The stories are just so over the top and strangely convoluted that they just don't really make sense. Like, okay, there's this one where Smokey wants to smoke with Craig for 420, but Craig wants to start his new job. So then like an old version of Smokey shows up and it turns into It's a Wonderful Life for some reason, with two bug-eyed Phil Lamars screaming at each other. We see Smokey just ruining Craig's life for like 5 minutes. Then we go to the future to see what would happen if Craig stayed at his job, and he's miserable. So like logically, Smokey thinks that he needs to get Craig fired in the present so this won't happen. Then it has like the status quo ending and old Smokey shows up for like one final joke like, "No, you weren't supposed to get him fired, you missed the entire point." Bitch, pick a narrative. Are y'all trying to say that his life is better with or without this nigga? Like, what is the point of this episode? What are y'all trying to say? What's the point of any of this shit? Why'd they make this fucking cartoon? It's so bad.
Babe, calm down.
No. Do you see this shit? Tell me that you see it.
See, Bear? You're busted. That's what you get, trying to sneak out again.
Can't blame a bear for trying. I've told you again and again, I can't take you. You need ID to get into the nightclub. It's not like the Boy Scouts.
But I've got an ID.
I'm not talking about the prize you got out the bottom of your cereal box.
Here's a show even I wasn't too aware of until recently, something that you might consider Black Calvin and Hobbes. I mean, there's no getting around it. It's about a boy who has a stuffed animal that comes to life that only he knows about, and they go on imaginary adventures. But the difference here is that they're black. I didn't say it was a big difference.
Kwame, all I'm saying is that stop signs are not racist.
My sister, I must disagree. Notice how the white is placed on top of the red.
So
the white letters represent the white pilgrims stepping on top and stomping the Indians, represented by the color red. And that's knowledge straight from the motherland.
Kwame, you are so tired. The only reason you're saying that is because your daddy got a ticket last week for running a stop sign.
Huh. Maybe there is a big difference. How do you have kids talking about race relations with stop signs? The hell? But whatever. The series was created by a bunch of writers for In Living Color back in the 90s, so you can expect a lot of general silliness. One odd thing about this show was the fact that they got Tone Loc to play Seabear, which was strange. He just kind of sounds a bit like a booty bandit from prison, I'm gonna be real with you. What was even stranger was when they had Prince show up in one episode and he was voiced by Jamie Foxx. That was just strange.
I think I wanna dance. Check this out. I got a concert in less than an hour. Ain't got no cool clothes to wear.
The show manages to incorporate something many black kids struggle through, like getting roasted for your outfit.
Why were you hiding behind that pole? That's obvious. Look at what he's wearing. Who dressed you, Jamal? Stevie Wonder?
I kind of think he looks respectable.
He would. He's wearing Winnie Mandela's tablecloth.
I mean, we can all relate to having classmates cooking us simply because our outfits weren't completely on fleek. Even though sometimes it wasn't even really by choice. You just went with what you got because you were just being grateful, but they didn't give a fuck. You need to have the freshest pair of bathing apes, even though those shoes are tacky as hell. Then they get on you for not having American Eagle apparel.
American Eagle ain't shit, goddammit. It's the same goddamn corporate bullshit that look like every other goddamn brand on the shelves. You're all idiots. You're all a bunch of corporate shallow fucks sucking on data capitalism. They don't care about you. They don't care about you. They don't care about any of us. They just want your money. That's all they want.
Yo, man, chill. It's all right. You're an adult. They don't give a fuck about your fashion anymore.
Right. Sorry about that. It just opened up some old middle school scars. I'm good now. I'm good. Lost the happy, but the happy's back. I'm good. So anyway, this series looks at things from a black perspective, which I can appreciate being someone who did grow up with that mindset. It has some fantasy elements I mentioned before, like with Jamal and Seabear going to imaginary lands, usually for the sake of teaching Jamal some type of lesson. They're okay lessons, nothing too special, and sort of nice for little kids to learn. Though the show can get a little stupid sometimes.
The BIGCHRLL is in the house.
Greetings, Big Brother Chill.
Hey, Big Chill.
Hey, Chili. I figured it was you, the only third grader I know with a driver's license.
It's still safer than driving in Maryland. At least he knows when to brake and use a turn signal. Anyway, they also have some fairly pointless moments that just fill up the runtime. It's kind of odd.
What you need is energy. There's enough sugar in one of these babies to feed the entire ant population of the Sudan.
Do you think I can get some honey with mine?
Well, that was kind of pointless.
The show wasn't exactly riveting, but it's pretty harmless. There's a bit of humor and some creativity to it, but it's still fairly forgettable. You might get some slight amusement out of it, but you're really not missing much.
Copyright this. MC Hammer. Big homie was on top of the world with parachute pants and all, only to have them deflate him back to earth. Can't Touch This was a slap. And just like the song Watch Me and eventually Old Town Road, that slap is only gonna give you money for so long. And unfortunately, Hammer spent way more Can't Touch This money than he had, which is where his bankruptcy gimmick started. But let's move on to the cartoon though. Big Dick Animation in 1990 was like, hey man, you want a cartoon? And Hammer was like, sure, why not? And boom, that's it. Wasn't even there to voice his own character. He just did the intros and outros. That's how much of an afterthought this was to him. Mike Tyson and Andre 3000 would look at this mess with absolute disgust. Anyways, the show was your typical 80s celebrity cartoon, except it wasn't, because it was made in 91. But you know what I mean. It has superpowers, life lessons, the Saturday morning feel, all the quirks. He even has magical talking step shoes, because why not? Woo Boy does the animation and sound design stink though. Just making it halfway through an episode just lets you know off the bat that a lot of stuff was panned for time. Not to mention the vapid overuse of sound effects. Actually, a grand majority of shows like this from back then was just made for a general audience. They were just cartoons to watch. Nothing really stands out. This was evident to me after I watched a cartoon based off of Kid and Play, which was just also meh. The only replay value these tunes will probably get is if someone goes out of their way to find it because they're feeling nostalgic one day. Just like one of us nowadays would probably do to a show like Squirrel Boy. So to generalize this show, it's pretty much the early 90s through and through. The only redeeming quality I personally could find is that the main character speaks in rhymes while he's hearing. But damn, this show doesn't have any redeeming qualities to rewatch it again. It just seems like one of those shows that runs in the background of those late 90s movies. So again, Hammerman was an afterthought, nothing else.
I'm gonna go dribble over there now. Dribble, 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 dribble. Dribble, 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 dribble.
Alright, let me stop fucking around. I usually start these things with music.
You see the lights, the fame, you see the bling, but you should meet LeBron before he became king.
Let me take you back to a time called 2011. Niggas was in Paris, Nickelodeon ended up making a better movie than Pixar somehow, I don't know. And the world was blessed with Fast 5.
Oh shit, The Rock in this one? Hey bitch, get dressed. Pulling camels around front.
Among all of these things, a brand new animated series was produced for YouTube that rocked my 13-year-old mind. I even know who made it too. So, hold on, I could get his name out.
LeBron James.
The LeBrons is an animated series created by popular basketball star LeBron James. And no, I wasn't excited for this because I'm a basketball fan. I don't even watch that shit. What? Y'all expect all black people to like basketball or something?
That's racist!
Being born in 1997, I wasn't really a part of that era where celebrities got their own animated series aside from a Jackie Chan Adventures here and there. So that whole time period really fascinated me. So when I heard the LeBrons was happening, I was all in, balls and all.
Pause. What the fuck?
Alright, everybody relax. Just, basketball. The show, based on a commercial made before it, centers around 4 different split versions of LeBron, being business, wise, athlete, and kid, who's the character that we follow for most of the show. See, this is a concept that just seems so easy to fumble, but it's treated with such style and personality, I don't know. It does the standard a lesson every episode thing, but the characters are all so likable that it never really seems like it's trying too hard, and they take advantage of it being a cartoon. There's like talking animals and shit, and oh man, does this show look great. Like, this animation has no business looking as good as it does. I wish there was more I could say about the first season of the show. Most of the episodes were removed from YouTube over a few years, which is a shame. These joints have so much personality. It's a wonder why this didn't get sold on like Cartoon Network or something. I remember when Drake first guest starred on here and I thought that shit was so random as a kid, but after some years it makes a lot more sense. If you know anything about rap beef, you know that these two are boys. It's a lot to explain. It was like something about Adidas and Duppies, I don't know.
Someone's gonna fucking punch you in the fucking face.
There's 2 more seasons of this show that are still around and sponsored by the Army, but they're both animated in CGI. The writing and voice acting is still there. A personal favorite of mine is the kid who's voiced by Jason Weaver. You know, smart guy's brother. But the charm isn't the same whatsoever. This nigga got this shit looking like a 2K mob player game. Yeah, it's just missing a white boy calling me nigger through the headset. Choose your fighter. Like, even look at the theme song. The energy just isn't there anymore. This is an example of a show where the animation definitely enhanced the storytelling. We all can't be 12-ounce mouse. Shit, 12-ounce mouse shouldn't even be 12-ounce mouse. This ain't the shit Up Iwerks died for. The LeBrons wasn't anything spectacular, but for what it was a good time. Just season 2 and 3's animation make the show 10 times more awkward than it needed to be.
Pause. What the fuck?
Nate! Get him, Nate!
Woo! Yeah!
Somewhere with Ron!
Did it!
Whoopee!
Yeah, yeah!
You heard me?
Yeah!
Oh, Lord! Oh, I swear to God, Dub wants me to get killed by the creator of this. Let's bring things back to a show that couldn't even make it past 4 episodes of its run. Because that's always a good sign. When it came to audience reception, it was met with a powerful and resounding why? Back in 2004, the show was created by Bruce W. Smith, the creator of Proud Family, and 2 other guys named John Patrick White and Styles White, and clearly took some of the wrong elements from Proud Family. What I mean by that is this tries to incorporate all the slang from Proud Family, but poorly. Whenever the main character talks, it sounds forced, like the writers were trying their hardest to sound hip and with it.
Holla! Where you at, dog? Gnarly half pipe. Tony Hawkin later, homie. Make him stop!
The basic, emphasis on basic, idea of the show was these 4 kids who created their own video game, contrived, and somehow got sucked into it. One thing to point out is the idea of some kids making a video game. That just sounds so far-fetched, which really hurts believability. This concept could have worked if they were college kids, but them being normal kids and knowing how to handle that fantasy land they're in with the fancy weapons just makes it seem like they're gods at this game, which takes away relatability. It'd be really good if they were good at playing video games on controllers, but when they get sucked into it, they're completely out of their element. That would add some stakes to the show, but nope. We get some Gary Stews and a Mary Sue who have a great understanding of weaponry, combat, space travel, and technology, so you just don't care for when anything happens. You're honestly hoping something comes along and hurts them just so it wouldn't be so friggin' boring.
I'm picking up a bad vibe.
The concept sounds cool on its own, but it falls flat when you realize all the characters are just straight up one note. You got the goofball, the smart one the others don't understand, the brash young one, and the leader, and they all just play these jobber roles. No one here is really unique. There's just nothing interesting about any of this. Hell, the animation is pretty boring too. Proud Family didn't have the most consistent animation, but at least had something interesting to look at. This just makes me want to go to sleep. What really makes this hurt is the fact that it came from such a creative mind with zero creativity.
Oh man!
This show is bad, but not in the sense of something keeps having faults as you watch. It's bad in the, it's so goddamn boring. You're just gonna sit through it for a prolonged amount of time just waiting for the credits to roll. No wonder it got canceled after 4 episodes. God, Dub, why did you make me suffer through this?
Hey man, I strategically constructed this top 10 list for everything to be in my favor. However, doing so gave me this hidden gem right here, and I completely forgot it existed until Toon told me only recently. Fatherhood is the last cartoon produced under the Bill Cosby name, and before y'all even say it in the comments, I prefer not to touch it with a 50-foot pole. Moving on, Cosby had a show about being a boy, a show about being a teenager? Question mark? So why not complete the spectrum and making an animated series based off of dads? I mean, he was known as a hallmark for being a sitcom dad anyway. Hell, he wrote a book on the literal name of the show. I'm sure nothing could go wrong. Nick and Night. That's what went wrong. Which sucks to say because the show really wasn't that bad. It just didn't fit anywhere for the time it came out. If it were on Netflix today, I'm sure someone would binge it. The animation was truly incredible for a 2004 show no one was watching, and the tone is so wholesome that I can't make any crude jokes cause it'll ruin the vibe. Bitch. But basically, to save us all some time, Fatherhood was essentially just an animated 80s sitcom with morals that probably felt dated to keep people's interest. And honestly, come on now, be honest with me. How many of y'all really kept watching the channel Nick when Nick and Night came on? None of you. I know. Don't give me none of that. Nah, man, I just need to catch up with that rerun of Fresh Prince, yo.
But George Lopez slapped though.
Get out of here.
The year is 2015.
I'm sitting here watching TV, right? We're not even watching TV, but I'm on the phone.
And I remember seeing this video go viral on Facebook, on Twitter. It's an animated clip of 2 black kids getting jumped by a gang of white kids who even called them the N-word. The older brother breaks free and tells his little sister to run, but she can't and she's held down. As her older brother watches, she's spray painted with white shoe polish so that she can, quote, see what it's like to be white.
Did y'all see that bullshit? I beat up everybody. That was, man, I swear to God, that shit is stupid. That's on HBO Family at motherfucking 9:30 in the morning on a motherfucking Thursday morning.
I can't even begin to tell you how much I hate when this happens. This special is called Whitewash. It aired on HBO in 1994. I watch this type of stuff happen at least once a year with some form of animated content. People think they notice something or see something completely out of context and just run with it, thinking that cartoonists are trying to push some kind of sick-ass agenda on the kids, but never do the research or watch the rest of the special. This random guy paused in the middle of the special to record, and because of it, everyone has this skewed, preconceived notion of the special without even being able to fully contextualize it.
I remember when the controversy broke out about this. When I saw the little clip of the girl getting spray painted, I already knew this was just some after-school special teaching about the problems of racism. How anyone thought they were trying to teach some racist agenda against black people is beyond me. Like, there's no reason to believe any of that. It's obvious from how they're doing it and how it's set up that it's clearly supposed to be for unity. Like, come on, I don't know how this is some racist agenda.
For those who haven't seen the film, let me break it down for you. So we start off by seeing the main character in school, Hellion Angel. She's smart, but also gets along with her classroom comrades. After school, she usually gets picked up by her dabbing big brother, in which he's never fond of doing. On this particular day, the absolute worst case scenario happened, and they get jumped by a group of 1960s greasers? The news on this tragedy goes viral, causing the family to go through a downward spiral of emotion. Hellion Angel's classmates catch wind of this and want the best for her. So as days go by without her going to school, they decided to unite together and walk her to and from school to ensure that none of this happens again.
Admittedly, for me, the weakest part of the film is probably the older brother. I feel like they try to have him internalize the feelings of anger or even guilt, honestly. Like, he did just stand there when all of this happened, but they don't really go anywhere with this aside from him just repeating, I just did the best I could.
What really kind of bugs me about him is how during that beatdown, he didn't do too much to help her, but when they get home, he tries so hard to gain sympathy from his grandma. Like, your little sister just got shoe polish on her face while you got some welts. This really isn't about you, dude. Especially when you could have done a little more other than hide behind the corner. Like, come on.
Then he's like really excited to see himself on TV, but we never actually see him on the TV. It's always just a little girl, so maybe he just wants some attention. I don't know. I feel like I shouldn't be questioning his emotions in a situation like this. The little girl isolates herself and hides in a room, which is easy to understand. But it just seems like whoever wrote this didn't know what to do with his character after the attack.
Yeah, he kind of served his purpose and is basically just hanging around until the special ends. But thankfully, he doesn't bog down the message too much. The overall theme manages to shine through.
I feel like the end result, though, is a heavy push on the concept of unity. When all of the kids show up to greet Hellion Angel at her house to walk her to school, it just warmed my heart, I'm gonna be honest. And they never come across the gang again, we never find out if the cops caught them, and I respect that because none of that is important. None of that is the centerpiece. It is fixed on this little girl and how these traumatic events hurt her.
Them leaving it up in the air on the thugs works for the best, because sometimes that is the reality. The criminals get away and you can't do anything about it. But the strongest thing you can do is move forward and use this experience to better your life or someone else's. That's a fairly powerful message that's handled in a pretty adult way. I even like how they show Helleen's classmates dealing with the whole thing. It's done in a manner that feels like this is a genuine reaction to the event. Like it's their first time dealing with racism and they're a bit out of their depth to handle it. Like with them feeling lost and not understanding why someone would do such a horrible thing to one of their friends. I even like the aesthetic they play with here, with the teacher asking them how they feel and what they could do to help. It comes off as something a real classroom would do. It's done in a very nice and subtle way.
Yeah, no, I got nothing, y'all. But look at this dude's head, though, damn.
Yeah, you could definitely land a plane on that shit.
You guys play too much, man.
Look, this isn't a political channel. I actively try to keep that stuff away from these videos. But with all of the injustice that people of color face, this is exactly the kind of content that we need to show our youth. Not to push this agenda or make them believe in this, but they have to understand that this stuff happens to people. It does. And the best thing we can do is support each other and show each other that we're there.
You have to remember that you're the same Hellion Angel, just as beautiful outside as you are inside.
The confidence the grandmother instills into her granddaughter right here is the most important thing in this entire film. She has to learn to love herself and the skin that she's in. It won't solve all of her problems, of course not, but it'll make the process that much easier.
I think it's an honor to be in this black skin. I don't think that my black skin is a liability. I don't think it's a burden. Like, we have access to a divine system that we can tap into that causes us to prosper in spite of everything that's thrown at us in this country.
Confidence. That's really all it takes. People will always be people. What only matters is how you view you and how that affects your confidence. And once you get that up, there's no doubt that they'll see it too.
for one. Get on your mark, cause here we come, and we here to laugh and to have some fun, and dum-da-dum. Come on everybody, come on and sit down. Come gather around in the circle now. Watch the whole crew learn a lesson or two. Promise what they know will rub off on you. It's the capital T, the H to the U. Can't forget the G to the A to the boo.